So we'll talk about a few of these different carnivorous groups. You can see there's some similarity. We've got pitcher plants here and pitcher plants here and pitcher plants here. Sometimes there are related species, related families, I should say more, in groups that are a little more enriched for carnivorous plants. So let's dive into it with one we can find locally. This is diverse worldwide, and also we've got a handful of species in Wisconsin, family Droseraceae, and it gets its name from this genus Drosera. And actually the name there comes from the Greek word for dewy, so sundew. Let me just write that out for us here. So this is the sundew. So dewy, referring to the kind of looks like a condensation you might find in the morning, but it's actually a secretion from the plant. And it's kind of sugary and sticky. Sugary and sticky go together, so it's attractive to insects who want the sugar, but it's also sticky for insects that are going to have trouble getting away. Also in this family is this other species, Dionea, which is the Venus flytrap. So kind of interesting, the same family, Droseraceae, has Drosera and also Venus flytrap, and actually another one that we'll see as well. So if we're going to talk about this as a whole family, which we're going to do, we'll say that these are carnivorous using sticky traps on the right-hand side here, or snap traps, as in the Venus flytrap. They are acaulescent, so typically having their leaves just all together at the base. We'll see when they flower, they have flowering stalks. And this aquatic one that I'll mention actually does have a stem, so it's one that you're less likely to run into the aquatic one, but it's part of this family, and kind of interesting also. I'll talk about that. So just here's our sundew, as I mentioned, some flowering images. So I don't know if all these are local to Wisconsin, but flowers close to the ground, flowers on a stalk. Sometimes people talk about, well, how do you get the flowers pollinated by insects and you're also eating insects? Well, my simple answer is there's a lot of insects out there, and some will be attracted to the flowers and they'll do the pollination, and some will be attracted to the sticky dew and they'll be eaten. So Dionea, Venus flytrap, you can buy this locally, or sorry, you can buy it commercially. It is a plant that if you're buying it from anybody, you want to try to make it one that's been ethically sourced, so people can propagate these, and if someone has Venus flytrap, they can grow you more Venus flytraps. You should not be getting these directly from their natural habitat, which is a really narrow part of the world in North Carolina. So they're native to North America, not to Wisconsin. And they're kind of under threat in their natural habitat because they're kind of desirable as a plant that people might have as a plant pet. The other one here, Aldrovanda, that's the name for the water wheel. And this is the underwater plant. You can see it's caulescent, it's got a stem. And along the stem, if you get a closer look at that, it's kind of hard to see from this distance, but these are sort of like individual Venus flytrap snap traps. So it's underwater doing a very similar strategy to the Venus flytrap here. So you can kind of see the family resemblance there. And then just more illustrations of flowers. I'm not really going to use the flowers to have you identify these, but you can see some similarities there, 5 petals and so on. And just as I mentioned, the question sometimes comes up of whether these carnivorous plants are eating their pollinators. Obviously, that would be counterproductive. Insects might figure out not to visit them if they are getting eaten or pollinating. But it's basically just entirely different set of signals. So insects that visit flowers are keyed into flowers. Insects that are trying to mop up bits of just glistening nectar, kind of keying into different signals. So they still get their flowers pollinated. The pollinating insects are perfectly safe if they're visiting the flowers, and they can avoid the more dangerous parts of the plant. And then just illustrating here, kind of the, depending on the kind of insect, some of these have greater or smaller proportions of the same kind of insect getting trapped. while it's got pollen on it. So sort of, are you carrying the pollen away and got eaten? Sometimes that happens, but happens small enough amount of times that not really upsetting the plant's lifestyle.